Good morning. We're going to be talking about enjoyment in one hand and pleasure in the other hand, and how I think there are some differences, and we need to balance these differences and to enjoy life more often. It's not just about the quick pleasures. That stuff can eat us alive. And I'm going to talk about why this morning. Good morning, everyone, and financially free and enjoy more of what the world has to offer. This action one, because this is where most human beings screw the pooch. So a little one-person trampoline, very helpful. I screen shared it. Like, there's no excuse. Like, phone numbers are just out there. You just got to pick up the phone, smile, and dial. So. Good morning, and welcome back to another episode of the Talk Tanner Morning Show, where we go over tips, tricks, ideas, and exercise that will make you the absolute best entrepreneur you can be, not only for yourself, but for the people you love and care about most. Happy Labor Day, everyone. This morning, we're going to be going over a couple different concepts that I think are really valuable and helpful. So the first one we have is pleasure. And the other one we have is enjoyment. How's everyone doing this morning? Everyone feeling all right? So before we get into pleasure and before we get into enjoyment, I got to give a shout out and a wonderful happy Labor Day to you all. It's a laborious day. And a little bit of history, I guess, if you want to sound smarter. At your cookouts or when you're meeting with folks or when you're doing whatever. It was actually pulled from the late 19th century from a Pullman Railway Company. It's actually based out of my home state, Illinois. So there was a big labor strike with rally cars and building out railways and a bunch of stuff. Essentially, it boils down to it was horrible working conditions, ridiculous long hours, no vacation time, and very low wages. And there was a group of unions started to form, to band together to try and come against these bigger companies, because rail, steel, these are some of the fundamental powerhouses that helped shape and make America. And in the earlier stages, it was like what a lot of the rest of the world that it still is today: terrible working conditions, no workers' rights, and this and that. So as a combatant of that, the government steps in, and it actually doesn't work out super well. That's one of the things that's part of being on the fringe, and shout out to all these workers from the past, because if you want to be great and you want to make huge differences for millions of people, such as labor workers throughout the United States, a lot of them got fired. A lot of them lost their jobs. A lot of them had to move to different areas outside of Pullman, Illinois, for that extreme case. So it's on the fringe. It's always tough. It's never going to be easy. But so thank God that it's formed, it's shaped, the government has stepped in. And I think, I can't remember when the holiday started being recognized. I was looking up this stuff earlier. It's the first Monday, right? The date it was actually issued into, and I guess I don't know. I know that this Pullman strike had a big influence on when it was actually cemented as a holiday, but it's the first Monday of every September. Dates change year to year, but yeah, it's all about working conditions, rest and relaxation, economic and social significance. But without further ado, so shout out, happy Labor Day to everyone. Just a little bit of information on that, because it's good to be informed. We're going to be talking about pleasure and enjoyment today. Good morning on this wonderful Monday morning. So let's kind of define what these actually mean. So I believe their pleasure is effortless. And it's some type of sensation. Versus enjoyment, I believe, has effort on it. So enjoyment would be effort towards So effort exerted. So you see how one pleasure is effortless, and then enjoyment is effort in itself. I make the claim that enjoyment is actually effort, because when you look at all of your life, your biggest life accomplishments, you would see that it was not just handed to you, it was not just easy. You can look at kids who have been absolutely given everything, and then they're not very tough and they're not very resilient, versus someone who has gone through the grindstone to create character, to callous themselves, to be resilient, to take extreme ownership. So you can see how this definition is, it's worth researching, it's worth trying to understand. It's like, oh, okay, so pleasure, what does he really mean by pleasure? I think depending on your definition, you can kind of merge and mix the two as much as you want. But I really like this idea of pleasure being something like an effortless sensation. So you can think of eating a cookie. You eat a cookie, all it takes is your ability to chew. It's very instant. You get the taste of the sugar, you get the taste of the chocolate, whatever kind of cookie it is, and you get the instant gratification from it. Say if you drink a beer and then you start to feel the alcohol settle within your blood, you like the taste of it. Say if you smoke a cigarette, say if you I think a lot of these indulgences is the main stronghold that I want to talk about with pleasure today, because this is where we tend to fall and get trapped too. And if our pleasures, say if you ate a cookie all the time, all day, every single day, it loses its lust after a while. This is the dangerous thing about pleasure, is you will want more. You will want more. And when you want more and there's no effort like there is in enjoyment, human beings have this state of, it doesn't mean anything to us. If you continue to give me something and I have no effort within it, I will not appreciate it. I will not care for it. It doesn't matter to me. I just believe it's just part of it. Just come on, give it to me, give it over to here. This is what I do. This is how I enjoy things. So being very careful of this pleasure, and I'm not saying go without pleasures. What I'm saying is, before we get into when we're talking about enjoyment, we really want to make sure that we have this scale. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to erase a few things, because now we're going to get into 3 ways to find more enjoyment in our lives. I want us to talk more about this enjoyment. Good morning, everyone. I hope you're all having a beautiful, beautiful morning. I've kind of this scale that I wanted to draw out. Okay. I got chalk all over me. Okay. So we kind of have this rough scale. And we're going to be talking about 3 ways to find more enjoyment in life. And this first one is the scale of challenge. So we're really talking about enjoyment over here. And we're talking about the 3 ways to really get a lot of benefit out of it. And so over here we have boredom. We have boredom. Then we have overwhelm. So anxiousness, anxiety, however we want to label it, but say overwhelm over here, and then complete boredom over on this side. And we want to be able to find more enjoyment and not to get lust and pleasure, because I will argue that if you take in too much effortless pleasure, such as emotional pleasures, or you just watch too much movies, you smoke vapes, you drink too much alcohol, eat too much unhealthy food, whatever the bad habit would be, this is the short-term sensory pleasure that we want to avoid. And I believe the first step is for engaging in challenge, the scale of challenge, and this is the scale of challenge. So we want to be somewhere in the middle. So when you think of activities that are worthwhile, when you think of things that you want to do today, I want you to do things that aren't going to make you super bored. So that's why a lot of people hate their jobs. It's because it's boring and they can't take their mind off of the rest of the shit in life. Or they don't like their jobs because it's too overwhelming. It's like, oh my gosh, make it stop. This is too much. I can't handle it. I'm going to freaking explode. So if you want to enjoy more out of life, then we have to find the balance between boredom and being overwhelmed. What is the sweet spot for you? For me, the sweet spot is the morning show. The morning show. Because the morning show it's difficult, it's some pressure, it's talking, it's writing out notes, it's learning, and it's coming onto a live camera. But it's not a speech in front of 30,000 live people. It's not a performance at the Super Bowl. It's not causing me to just freeze up, shell up, and lock up and not be able to perform. So finding an activity for what is that for you is how I believe you can really improve yourself. So the scale of challenge, find an activity that you want to do. Maybe it's joining a local sports league. Maybe it's taking a class at a local community college. Maybe it's starting your own business. Maybe it's, and this will teeter. Sometimes the morning show's a little over here. And sometimes it's a little over here close to the boredom side. It's going to move around a little bit. That's really what life's all about. So whatever your activity is, realize that it's going to fluctuate a little bit, but it's got to be within these parameters. You can't just be slammed on boredom, or you just can't be slammed on being overwhelmed all the time, or else these are the forces that are going to make you want to quit and then go back to simple pleasures that don't really help you grow. So that is the one thing about eating these sweet cookies or smoking cigarettes or drinking too much alcohol. You get the pleasure, but you don't grow as a human being when you think about it. It doesn't allow you to grow versus enjoyment and being in activities. These are helping us grow as individuals. Okay, next is locus of control. So locus of control. So I wanted to emphasize a little bit on this point of control. I believe that a lot of people can get a lot of enjoyment and help themselves grow with their lives when they take on activities, when they take on hobbies, such as reading good books or studying, watching good YouTube videos online that are going to show you how to grow yourself and your business. So there's something about taking control of our lives, picking the activities that we really want to do, and enjoying more of what it has to offer. And we're trying to really grow, but we're not trying to do too much all at once, or else I believe we'll burn out, or we don't want to get stuck on the side of boredom. And so human beings, when we are in control of what it is we want to do, I think we can enjoy so much more in life. When you can control what times a day you do it, if you can control what it is that is in front of you, you get to control the responsibilities, such as when it comes to work and people enjoying themselves more often and getting way more enjoyment out of it. I believe it's when we are in control. It's when seems like people quit or give up, or it just doesn't work out for them when all of the built up bullshit that you've been putting on your back, and then you have that one really, really bad day, and then you just don't have the option to walk away or to make changes. You just don't have that control. It makes me think of, say, a manager I was working with. She was getting rode really hard on working long hours and not getting the promotions that she wanted. It was going on for like over 2 years while we were working together. And then it kind of all built up into one day where her manager had been saying some inappropriate things to her. And then the whole thing just like blew up and didn't want to continue with it and moved on to something else and burnt a few bridges on the way out. And it didn't work. It worked best for the now, but we didn't have to let it get to the boiling point of overwhelm to where good. But if she would have had a little more control over how she was engaging with people, how she was talking with them, how she was communicating back and forth with her managers, I think that's when people tend to feel a lot better. Is we all want a sense of control. Life is life, and there's always going to be things that we can't control. But if we can control more often, like the time that we go to the work, the days of the week that we work, and how we impact people and how we communicate them, I think it can be really helpful. So locus of control, people want to feel in control. And the last point for today, before we wrap up, is attention and action merge. Attention and action merge. If you want to feel alive, if you want to feel enjoyment, if you want to feel rewarded, if you want to grow yourself at a high level, then we need to be able to merge attention and action. When you're doing something, say if you're writing a blog, or say if you're recording some video for social media content, or if you're trying to help buy a rental property. These are just listing off some things that we're doing here. So attention, when we have attention on the action that we're doing, that's how we find enjoyment. That's how we get long-term pleasure, not this sensory, like short-term bullcrap pleasure, but we get real growth. And when humans are growing, they feel alive. We feel enjoyment. So we're trying to get this, really lock up this word joy here. And I believe that we can get more out of it when the actions that we take are merging with where our attention's at. So if you are working on a project for work, but you're thinking about all the other things in your life, you're probably not enjoying yourself. So the challenge is to engage in, work on activities that we can do that lock us in. So for example, for me, it's this morning show. We're locked into it. I don't give a crap what day of the week it is. I mean, it's Labor Day and we're doing it regardless because we love it. We enjoy it. We really want to try and help and inspire people. So morning show helps lock us in to the present moment. We don't care what day of the week it is. We don't care what time it is. So for you, that could be playing softball. For you, that could be reading a hard book. For you, that could be making sales calls to help grow your business. It could be really anything, whatever it is that you want to be, as long as it really matches that whole growth and effort that we talked about. So enjoyment is really, it's effort towards something, this engaging effort. And humans want to give effort. It's easy to joke about, but it's really too bad that it's been fooled that you want pleasure all the time. Like these comments, good morning. And so getting these effortless sensations, such as whether it's the foods that you eat, or it could even be saying something snarky to somebody else and it kind of gives you a little burst of pleasure. But we want to be really careful of the effortless sensations, because when it takes no effort, then we can get like addicted to them. And then when we get addicted to them, then we believe that we need them and they become us and and it's this whole rapid of negative emotion that's really tough. Versus enjoyment, when we look at the most powerful and enjoyable things in our lives today, it was when we had to give conscious effort to it and we had to work hard at it. And the 3 ways that we went over to do that was the scale challenge, being somewhere between boredom. It can't make us totally bored and being overwhelmed, but the skill in the challenging the activity can't be so hard that we just freeze up. Locus of control, feeling like we are in control of it, managing it, that we have a say, That is a huge part in satisfaction. And additionally, attention and action. Is your head where your feet are at? Are you paying attention to what it is that you're doing at task, or whenever you're working with one of your clients? Are you paying attention to that? When you're communicating with a friend or family member, are you paying attention to that? Are you, when you're playing a board game? I was just playing a board game with my girlfriend last night, and my attention was locked in on the board game, and it felt absolutely amazing. It's like this numbers game. It's called Sagrada. It's really fun. Anyway, should try it. But these are just some points on why I believe we can find more joy out of life by enjoying and using leverageable activities to help push ourselves. But that's all I had this morning. This was pleasure and enjoyment and why it matters to me. So I'm trying to find more enjoyment in my life. And then I need this balance here, because as I do this, then I can take on more of the pleasures, not feel bad about it, not beat myself up, and not run my body down. So cheers. That's all I had for us this morning. In case you needed to hear it, I love you. You're a badass. You got this. And I'll see you guys on the next episode. Bright and early, Monday morning, Tuesday morning. Tuesday, September 5th, 8 a.m. Central Standard Time, with another episode of the Talk Terror Morning Show. Cheers, guys. Catch you on the next one. Peace.